Well, Bobby Carpenter, time for a Buckeye breakdown. You hear this man on 97.1 The Fan, Morning Juice, YouTube TV, 10 TV Plus, and it is time for the Big Ten Championship game. Ryan Day is excited to go to this because it's been a while since Ohio State has played in this game. And back when they were there, I mean, that game when it was just a 4-team playoff, that game was big because it could, you know, the year Urban Meyer won the national title. That got him into the, now it's a different world. Ohio State and Indiana both are going to be, you know, in the Big Ten title game, and both should have bye weeks no matter what happens. But there's still bragging rights on the line.
There is, and like you talked about, as long as you're playing for a trophy. You talked about the trophy games, trophies and T-shirts. Bill Parcells called them the hat and trophy games. And so that's a big deal. That's a big deal to be able to go through all of that and make sure that you're getting, and let's be honest, Don, like you said, it's been since 2019 that they've ultimately won a Big Ten championship. So as long as they're still keeping score and they're still putting trophies up in the Woody Hayes, it's going to matter. And maybe it would have mattered a little more before when you got the automatic bye for winning your conference, because this year both them and Indiana, you know, they're both going to get the bye. But I will say this, getting that 1 seed, you start looking at who you would be playing and the pathway to get there, it makes it a whole heck of a lot easier should they get this win.
All right, let's take a look at this Indiana football team. And a lot of people are calling this the Heisman game, that it's between Julian Sayin and Mendoza, their quarterback. As to whoever wins the game will probably win the Heisman. We can debate that as we will. But it is amazing when you think about, here's this Indiana football team, and they were bottom dwellers in this league for a lot of years. And now here they are. What Kurt Cignetti's been able to do the last 2 years blows me away. It's amazing. I mean, did you ever think, if I would have told you 5 years ago Indiana would be where they're at now, what would you have said to me?
Indiana was always the homecoming game. That's the game you put in the middle of the season when everybody would come back, and it was a game where you'd tell your backup, hey, be ready to go. We'll probably get a drive after the first half. You can come in there and close it out. And that's how all 4 of my games against Indiana ultimately were. But this has changed. Kurt Cignetti came in last year. You know, they go 11-1. They played Notre Dame pretty tough in the playoff, and everybody thought it would just be a flash in the pan. Well, I'll tell you what, they're back. They got Fernando Mendoza. Surratt came back. Omer Cooper Jr., their other receiver, both really talented players, both NFL caliber guys. The defense flies around. They make a lot of plays. This is a well-coached football team. They're physical up front. They went out to Oregon and won in Autzen. They looked good doing it. And Fernando Mendoza is the front runner in the Heisman. Him and Julian Sayin are neck and neck. And Dom, I believe you when we talk about this. I'm a Heisman voter. I've talked to a lot of people. And I think whoever wins this game, that quarterback is going to play well, and they will ultimately be the one that probably brings it home in New York.
You know, I asked Ryan Day about Indiana, and if he was surprised where they are now, where they find themselves. And, you know, he made a little bit of a joke. He said, but what Kurt Cignetti has done, you know, he said, Google me. I mean, it's absolutely amazing what this guy's been able to do. And, you know, they have embraced the transfer portal. They have embraced NIL. And they're getting players there, and this is going to be a really good football game, I think.
Kurt Cignetti is a heck of a football coach, and you heard Ryan Day speak very, very fondly of him, Don, with how you said Google him and laughing and joking around. He's a guy that didn't get, you know, his first Power 4 D1 job until he was in his 60s, and he took advantage of it. Never in my life did I think that there would be a coach at Indiana that would have a chance to possibly go to Penn State and choose to re-up and stay with the Hoosiers. He's building a program there. And generally in college football, it's always, hey, if you invest in us, we'll get you wins. Well, Kurt Cignetti came in last year. He produced the wins. People then invested in Indiana. It may be a football school moving forward because I think he's going to have this thing rolling for the foreseeable future.
And, you know, if I'm a conference coach in this league, some of the bottom dwellers, and, you know, you look and see what this guy's done, well, there's a script to getting it done. Speaking of scripts, what Ryan Day has done is absolutely amazing. You and I are 100% in agreement. This guy, in my opinion, is the best coach in college football. Kurt Cignetti said he's going to be a legend when he had high marks for him. Let's look at this Indiana football team. It starts with their quarterback, Mendoza. And this guy, I've watched him. He's thrown a lot of touchdown passes. But the other thing, Bob, he's not afraid to run either. He's a dual threat.
He's not. And this is one of the things about Fernando Mendoza. You talk about embracing the transfer portal. Don, he was at Cal. He's a kid from southern Florida, right outside of Miami. He came out. He could have went to Miami. There's other schools that needed quarterbacks that could have brought him in. Instead, Indiana was the school that took a chance on him, and they've helped to develop him. He's tall. He's much faster than people think, and he gets rid of the football. He's really hard to sack. If you start getting pressure, he gets rid of it, and he's a much better athlete than I think people realize. He can pull it down. He's a long strider. He can pick up some yards. So for Ohio State, it's going to be critical to make sure that they have tight coverage on their receivers. Both Cooper and Surratt are both quality guys. Everybody remembers Cooper's catch to ultimately beat Penn State and keep them undefeated. Tight coverage on them, but you also have to make sure you fill up those rush lanes. But the good news is they just took on Bryce Underwood at Michigan, who was another guy who was athletic and could run, so they should be able to carry over some of that game plan.
You know, as I look at these two offenses, Ryan Day has been methodical, very calculated. Play count has been important. He's playing it like he's in the National Football League. I then have watched Indiana, and they play fast, and they like to move fast, and we used to see that style of play out of Ohio State. It'll be interesting to see if they try to do that Saturday night in Indianapolis, but I will say this, I don't know that they have played a defense like they're going to play, and they put up a lot of points. I saw them struggle a bit against Penn State. Penn State gave them a game. Very physical football team. We found that out when we played them. But here's the thing. I don't know that they've played a defense or against a coach like Matt Patricia and Timmy Walton, what they're doing, because you mentioned the Michigan game. Bob, I want to say Bryce Underwood had 64 yards passing. Yeah. And the biggest stat to me is that Michigan in the fourth quarter, when you really got to go and you got to make something happen, their defense couldn't get off the field, and Ohio State limited them to negative yards in the fourth quarter. That's, oh my God, that speaks volumes.
Here's the best part of this defense led by Matt Patricia. You mentioned Tim Walton, who's done a tremendous job. Matt Guerreri, James Laurinaitis, Larry Johnson. All three levels have really been firing on all cylinders. But you watched Michigan make a play in the first quarter. Really kind of shut it down. You see the adjustments that they're able to make and how good this defense has been in the second quarter and in the second half. After they figure out and diagnose what's going on, they do a great job, some subtle tweaks, some small nuances here and there, and all of a sudden they're beginning to overwhelm an offense. They did it against Michigan. This will be a little bit different game. It's a faster track. They like to go up tempo and push the ball around on the outside. But, you know, I've talked to a lot of people over there. I think there's a confidence. If you're Ohio State, if you can score 17 points, you can win a game. This might be a little bit higher, but I don't think Indiana's scoring 3 touchdowns in this game.
All right. I'm on record, Bob, saying I'm not a fan, and that's not just for the Big Ten. I'm not a fan of these conference championships now in the world of pro college football, which is what we're looking at. 12-team playoff. When it was just the BCS and 4 teams were getting in, there was a spot for them, and I thought they were relevant. Especially if we're going to see expansion in the college football playoff. We're at 12. Are we going to 18? Are we going to 24? Where are we going? You hear all the stuff they're talking about. We're talking about play-in and games and whatever. In a year where you could play 16 games, I mean, this is pro football, obviously, but I understand you want to beat this team. But I wish they were playing in the playoff, that this game was counting in the playoff. To me, these two teams could meet in a championship game.
Absolutely. They could be playing and then playing in a rematch. And a lot of people thought maybe that would happen in the regular season and conference championship, but very rarely do you think conference championship and then maybe playing in the national championship. And the question's been posed to me a couple of times, you know, on our show, where does Ryan Day hold anything back? Are you concerned about guys getting injured? You know, do you risk playing these guys and going all out? Well, listen, you go play to win the game. People have asked, you know, do you play slow? Do you play fast? Ryan Day talks about it. You play to win the game. You don't want to put the game at risk. And so while you're still keeping score and while this game still matters, it's important. But it is going to be something that I think everybody's going to have to reevaluate, because Ohio State really is not going to be playing for anything else other than the Big Ten trophy, which is critical in this. but ultimately you want to be hoisting the national trophy at the end of the season.
And you want to have all your weapons. You would hate to see someone get banged up in this game that would haunt you come playoff time.
Well, I think that was part of the reason why you looked at the receivers and maybe holding some of those guys out. Jeremiah not playing against Rutgers, Carnell not playing for a couple games as well before Michigan, because it's not just this game, Michigan. Then you had to play Indiana this week. You have maybe a week off or two, hopefully, and then you've got to go on an epic run against really, really good football teams. So, yes, it would be a shame to see somebody get nicked up in this game, but they've done a great job of staying healthy all year, and hopefully that continues.
Bob, last thing, your keys to a Buckeye victory and who wins?
Well, I think you have to keep Fernando Mendoza in the pocket. Offensively, you need to go run the ball, control the clock, and then the last piece of it is take some shots over the top. When I saw 4 and 17 out there against Michigan, I knew they were going to be okay because there were going to be some big plays in the works. I like Ohio State 28-20.
He is the one and only Bobby Carpenter, the great Buckeye, and now you see him daily, Morning Juice. It is on 10 TV Plus, YouTube TV, and 97.1 The Fan.